Happy Sunday. Yeah, it's the Sunday edition. Sorry, I'm forgetting what I'm saying as I'm introducing this. Well, thank you for now my mind is going to Nancy Pelosi. What is it? Good morning, Sunday morning. So happy Sunday. Thank you for being here tonight. Welcome to High Strangeness, where the outer edge and reality meet and we talk about it. So tonight we have an interesting show planned for you. This is something that I find fascinating, and I think about it all the time because unfortunately it's just everywhere around us. But the poisoning of America, I mean, honestly, the poisoning of the whole world, but especially the poisoning of the United States, because as you will see tonight, there's something more toxic happening in the US. And I'm not just talking that airborne toxic event. And we're just getting inundated from all sides of it. And so tonight I'm bringing on Brian, who you guys know as ItisNowNow. He formerly of the Gen Hex stream. He is a good friend of the channel and very knowledgeable in health, holistics, healing, and like we said, the poisoning of America. So huge thank you to him for being here tonight to discuss this with us. And I'm going to bring him up. Hey, welcome, Brian. Thank you for being here tonight.
Oh, you're very welcome. Well, hey, everybody. You almost had me leaving when you mentioned Nancy Pelosi. I almost shut down the camera and left.
You know, that reset she did, it just never left my brain.
Yeah, that was a good impersonation. Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's just like, what is that saying? It lives there rent free. I can't think of, Sunday morning, the term, without thinking of good morning, Sunday morning. So, but thank you for not running at the sound of her name. I know that is all our like instinctual gut reaction to her name. So I don't blame you. So let me quickly just say hey to the chat. So I see Russ is asking, why is ET looking at Ripley that way? ET must have a crush on Ripley, one of the greatest sci-fi action heroines of all time, if not the greatest. Actress I'm not so sure about, but yeah, but Ellen Ripley is pretty great. Hexender, let's go. Sums says, hey Brian, and hey from Arizona. Okay, you got another fellow desert person here.
That's my friend. I think you've actually been in touch with her.
Oh, okay. Yeah, gotcha. All right. Now I know who you are, Sums. I am so sorry. It took me a moment. My brain does not always connect with names on this screen very well. But thank you, Brian, for reminding me. And John Davis, thank you guys for being here tonight. And Brian.
Oi.
Oi. I know. I always think of Australia right away whenever I see oi.
Because of him, I think of Jersey.
Jersey. I don't know. So we got two different, I guess my wires are just crossed as usual. And Sums, yes, you are the homeschool mom. And I was checking out your website. Awesome work you're doing there. And we got to talk about that sometime. I will be in touch. And Drix, thanks for being here tonight. So thank you all for coming and hanging out and talking on a Sunday night, a little bit of a different night than usual. And okay, Mango Junkie, Dirty Jers. Well, it definitely does smell in the northern parts of Jersey, so I will go with that whole dirty. I'm sorry. I love you anyway, regardless of what your state smells like. So Brian, you've been doing some interesting things in the holistic industry, not industry. What is this holistic sector at the moment? Would you like to share a little bit about what you're working on at the moment and what you're doing?
Yeah, sure. I worked with this guy for about 10 years. I've known him for almost 20 now, but he was always talking about hyperbaric chambers. And we used to just laugh at him. The same way people laughed at me about crypto in 2015. Funny. And I recently had some health issues and I reached out to him and he actually got a hyperbaric chamber. He's got the largest one in Arizona and he opened a wellness center. And I've been going there every day, using the chamber and using light therapy and a bunch of other things that he's got. And volunteering my time, I stop at the farmer's market on the way and I make fresh juices for everybody. And it's just been great to watch people healing it's funny because most people that end up there have are so down because traditional medicine hasn't helped them.
Mm.
They've basically finished with them, and they come there and they get better. It's amazing. Um,
And it's amazing because it's like it's that whole thing where the answer is right there, and you're constantly discouraged. If you mention something like that to a doctor, they're like, "Absolutely not." Like they will freak out most of the time. Anything holistic related, but people are getting the results on that instead of
yeah,
traditional medicine. So it's interesting because I'm like the answer is right in front of these people's faces and they don't even want to try. They don't want to make an attempt. I mean, do you think that's something intentional, something sinister? Do you think that's a brainwashing in the medical community? Where do you think that comes from?
I think it's a combination of both.
Mhm.
Although it's not everybody. We do have a couple physicians that come in for treatment, and I've talked to a few, and they say it's not everybody. There's
Mm.
plenty of people that um, are on our side, so to speak, but they got to keep their jobs. They got to support their families, and
Yeah.
puts them in a tough situation.
Gosh, yeah, I'd say. I mean, I'm just, my mind is going back to something that happened in the fall. Family member, who was a more vulnerable family member health wise, had COVID. And, I gave him, I don't know if I could say this word out loud on here, but I gave him that medicine that starts with an I. And unfortunately, when the doctor heard about that, you would have thought that I was giving that person like hardcore drugs. Like, what are you doing? That's a anti-parasitic. This is that. No, give them. I think it's called Paxlovid. Like it's yeah. It was a really weird situation. Just the reaction, the gut reaction, instantly is like this horrified. Like you're an idiot. You're this type of thing. And this person ended up doing really well on it. It worked out, even with their health issues. I mean, the doctor was acting like that this person was going to die, and they were fine. Not following the traditional doctor's protocol. And the amazing thing is, it's like you know the attitude there that's like you can't think for yourself, you can't make your own choices, how dare you step out of line and do that. So I mean, it's nice to hear that there are doctors coming in that are open to this and that are like
It's kind of like Thoughtchild saying, you're busting up their hustle.
yeah, oh yeah.
Don't be talking about this nonsense. Go away.
Oh no, yeah, exactly. Yeah, because they make more money off people just being continually ill than healing people.
The new drug dealers. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it truly is. It's pretty scary. And then back to like the things that they do want to prescribe, like the Paxlovid, and you look at how hardcore that is on the body. The fact that they have to run blood tests to check kidney function, liver function, versus this other eye medicine that starts with an I. They say it's safer than a Tylenol. So it's interesting. It's very, yeah, it's very, very intriguing.
I'm not
Um,
familiar with what you were saying. Plex. What is it?
Paxlovid, I think
Yeah.
it was the new medicine that I think Pfizer put out and patented, and it's like, okay, 3 days of this will cut the duration and shorten this, and then Biden went on it and everything. But there's like a rebound effect for people, and again, it's just like really hardcore and potentially damaging to your body systems. So, and
Mhm.
and it's like, no, 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 here they just like prescribe it like candy. They're like, here, take this. This is what you're gonna do.
I'm glad I
Um,
don't pay attention to that stuff.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, unfortunately, somebody informed a doctor, and that's how we got in that situation. Yeah, so they do hyperbarics there. Are they doing red light therapy? I think those,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he's got a red light therapy bed that is supposed to go deeper than most red light therapies,
Oh, nice.
past just the skin into tissue, and I believe that's high setting can reach the bone.
That's the good stuff.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
he's got a cryo tank, for lack of a better term, that I can't do yet. My blood pressure's still a little too high, but most the cryotherapy, you're in it for, I don't know, 20 minutes or so, and it gets really,
Mhm.
really cold and it's hard to do. This one, he told me it's a 3-minute treatment. So by the time you get cold, you're done.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And
So
what's also interesting is, a lot of our healthcare industry in this country wants to demonize holistic health practices and say it's dangerous, it's not monitored, it's not being closely, checked out. But here, this place is is basically keeping you from doing that at the moment because you have high blood pressure. So you're being treated properly. They are watching, what they're supposed to watch. It's the complete opposite of what
yeah.
they're saying. And I guess it's not a surprise. I grew up with holistic health, so it's not a surprise to me that there are safety practices and mechanisms, you know, set
Well,
up there. But it's
even
just, again, it comes back to the demonization because of money being one thing. But I'm convinced that it's more than just money. So,
um, well, money is a powerful thing to people, and it can
mhm,
convince them that they're doing good for whatever reasons. Um, but like back to like you're saying, like even the place I go, they're doing the right thing. Like I make juices for everybody, I just give them to them. But
mhm,
every new person, I stop and I say, "Hey, do you have any allergies? This is what's
mhm,
in this juice. Is this
yeah,
okay with you?"
yeah,
And a couple people passed on it because certain things weren't right for them. But
mhm,
you have to make sure. So
mhm. Yeah, no, and it's awesome. So, I mean, like we said, the checks and balances are there. They are present. It's not what that it's not what they make it out to be. Um, and coming back to the whole poisoning of America, it starts
yeah,
with we have holistic health here, which is less toxic. It's safer than what Western medicine is giving us. But on top of that, it also allows you to heal from the poisoning of America. And you've done a deep dive kind of on the history of that, of what they've
yeah.
done.
I found a few links today. The one that I found most interesting, I think I sent it to you, was foods that are allowed in America but not other countries.
That was a good one. Yeah.
That was a really good one. It opened my eyes. Things on it like American chicken,
Hmm.
salmon, and what freaked me out was apples,
Mm, mm.
among other things. What was it, a list of 20 or 50 or something?
It was 20, I think. Yeah,
20,
I'm pretty sure it
yeah.
was 20.
And milk. So
Yeah.
chickens, salmon, um, apples, and milk from America are not allowed in most other countries, including the EU.
And like you said, like that was the surprising thing for me because okay, when they say Fruit Loops and all these other things,
Right,
maraschino cherries, all that nasty stuff, none of
right.
that is shocking. But once you get to that, I was taken aback. But when I read it, it made sense because I have heard that those practices do happen even in grocery stores. The chicken that you get in a grocery store that is coming from behind the deli, the butcher counter, is treated in a certain way. But it's also interesting because you have all these health gurus who are pushing certain things like okay just or fitness gurus, I should say. Okay, go with chicken, go with this, up your protein, just constantly do meat, this, that. And people think that they're doing right for their body, but here they are just ingesting all these toxins. I think the problem with the chicken is was the chlorine was one of the things, the chlorine bleach that it unfortunately is cleaned with. But
Yeah.
it also freaks me out every time you go to Costco and all the people wait around the rotisserie chicken place. Is that do you go to Costco?
No, even if I did, I wouldn't be waiting around the chicken rotisserie
Well,
place.
I walk by it. I walk by it, the one I go to, you gotta walk by and see what, to get to a certain area. But everybody just waits for that chicken to come out. And once you hear what that rotisserie chicken is treated with, it's like injected with different chemicals and stuff to make it tastier, to make it kind of addictive. Not to mention that they're putting this
Wow.
super hot chicken in plastic. So you're also ingesting the plastic that's kind of coming out off of there. But I can't remember what was the problem with apples. Is it the pesticides? Is it the treatments?
Something they spray on it to make it, shiny, I guess.
Oh, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
And I
I
peel my apples at home for juices, but at the clinic, I've only been, coring them. So I'll have to start peeling them there also.
but what about organics? Because I don't think organic, if you're buying, you sh- they're usually not shiny.
I think
So
organic has turned into a catchphrase.
yeah, because I have heard that there is a certain allowable
Right.
nastiness allowed in organics. That's why I love going to the small local farms that just don't even have the money to put this garbage on anything,
Wow.
besides the fact that they're trying to be organic. Um, but
I'm gonna put the link in the chat to the what is it? The foods banned in other countries.
yeah, no, that was excellent. And it's interesting because just as an example from my own life, my weight is super sensitive with anything that I eat. If I have a M&Ms or whatever, I will see that change on the scale. My body constantly wants to react. Interestingly, I found when if I go to the grocery store and I go into the international section and I buy European candy, I am completely fine. And sometimes I will be a pound less the next day, not necessarily from the candy, but just in general, that it's not affecting anything. And I'm like, I think that is so very telling as to what's being put in there. Also, besides the fact that when you look at the ingredients are simpler, they're straightforward. You're not seeing everything else that you see around here. Oh gosh,
You mean you can
especially
understand all the words?
yeah, the words actually make sense, but I think understanding our bodies, knowing how your bodies work, is so important and something that people don't do anymore now. Everybody's too reliant on everybody else giving them instructions for their body, the pharmaceutical industry. So I think it's also a great thing to be aware of your body and what your norms are, so that you can see what this food is doing to you, especially
Mm.
that nasty 20 foods list. Something else I noticed they were talking about a certain type of Dorito is banned in Canada, and light Doritos, I think they call them, which I don't even know if that exists anymore in the United States, but it's banned in Europe also. But even our regular Doritos. So if you were to go to the UK and buy their Doritos, they have different flavorings. They're not having like whatever MSG in it. They actually have spices, like real spices flavoring their stuff. So it's interesting. And that makes, that leads me to my next question. When it comes to the European standards, like unfortunately, our whole world is kind of tied into this WEF Great Reset stuff. So,
Yeah.
the entire world, whatever governments, they all hate their people. But why does Europe get away with having food that doesn't poison their people as badly as we do here? Do you have any like thoughts on what that comes down to?
I never really gave it much thought. I
Mhm,
guess maybe because although it's a union of countries, it's not
mhm,
like a union of states with one government.
mhm.
Maybe the countries have more power individually. I really don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah. Well, because I guess I take that, more extreme view of, all the countries and their governments are kind of fake, that, there's always this elite shadow government that's just in charge of the whole world. So I'm like, why do they get a pass and we don't? But maybe we just have worse people in charge here. I mean, some of the worst people in terms of elites actually live here in the United States. So
Yeah.
we got Soros here in Westchester.
Does he live in Westchester?
He lives in Katona.
Oh, I wonder if my buddy's his mailman. My buddy's a mailman in Katona.
Oh, so maybe he's Soros's mailman.
Huh.
Yeah. Um,
Oh,
so
Rothschild says they have better foods because they're already disarmed.
that's an interesting way to think about things. So is it like their gift for disarmament, or
No, they're already less of a they're not a threat. We're
oh,
we're a
gotcha.
threat, so they have to attack us in other vectors.
Oh, so it's a way to subdue us.
Yeah, get their children, get them where they eat,
Yeah.
you know.
So, I mean, I don't think I'm making an assumption to that we're on the same page as me, that it's totally intentional, that there is something nefarious behind all this, that it's not just cost.
Uh no. No, I don't think it's just cost.
Yeah. 'Cause I know there's a lot of people that are like, all these things in the world that are happening, the Pfizer stuff, everything. Oh, it's just corporate greed. And I'm like, no, it goes deeper than that. Corporate greed only goes so far. But when you start getting into population reduction, like if you look at it, you look at Kellogg's cornflakes. Have you heard the story behind that?
The origin of it, I don't remember it, but refresh my memory.
That it was that there were patients in a psychiatric hospital, and the doctors wanted to find a way to reduce their libido, so they designed cornflakes as a way to induce nutritional deficiencies, so that the body systems just aren't there like they're supposed to be. So the fact that Kellogg's cornflakes were made to induce nutritional deficiencies is just scary, because I mean that's weaponized food right there, and you see it being sold
Wow.
on the shelf, being given to kids. I used to eat cornflakes as a kid. It's gross to think about, but I used to do that, here and there, and it's just this. So you just see the usage of it as a weapon, and you see that it's an effective weapon. Something is clearly happening, and because we also get like the whole fluoride thing. I know that's a whole other rabbit hole, a whole other duck hole, but you have the fluorides there. You have people that aren't thinking for themselves, that their brains aren't functioning. People aren't running optimally, and I guess it does make a whole, I don't know, neutered, weakened population.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been outside? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was already like that, but it's getting worse and worse. It's just
It
I
is. I mean, getting worse is an inevitability of it.
yeah,
It's happening the way they want, just not as fast as they want, so they gotta try new stuff.
yeah. Well, I love that example you gave me before we started. Do you mind sharing that with everyone about the Joker?
Oh, yeah, I was thinking about this stream tonight, and, it made me think back to the original Batman movie. Well, the original in my lifetime in 1989 with, Jack Nichols as the Joker. Um, he was poisoning the people with the Joker drug, but not any one particular drug. It was how things were working in combination. So you might use a toothpaste in combination with this particular soap, with this particular shampoo, and it would get you eventually. He put it in
Mhm.
enough little products so that everybody would get it, but it wouldn't be traceable. And it just made me think of, you know, today. Um, it's how they're doing it. Do you ever remember hearing, you want to stay safe in the supermarket, shop around the edges?
Yes, yeah.
Have you noticed that things are moving into the edges that don't belong there? Pay
Oh,
attention next time you go.
yeah. Oh, that's interesting that
At
they
least,
have different things in those fridges that used to not be there.
yeah, little things, maybe hanging on an end cap or something,
Mhm,
just to get your attention, that's supposed to be down aisle 8 in the middle. Now it's on the end cap in the corner. Um, I was thinking about that a couple weeks ago walking through the supermarket here.
so that's like luring people in who would naturally or normally just stay on those edges, so you can kinda get them here and there. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
it's, alright, people say it's safe to shop on the edges, let's put the crap on the edges.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, because they feel that it's safe, that it's like a
Right,
safe, yeah, it's
right.
the safety net. Um, and also though, I mean, grocery stores as a whole, I joke around, I said it's like a haunted house, house of horrors. Like, I find it just so scary walking into a Costco, or just a regular supermarket. Not in the sense of like living in fear, but just scary that like people consume this stuff and think that it's healthy.
Well,
Um,
it's very frustrating. Like, now
mhm,
I've been going to this, clinic every day for, I don't know, almost a month now, and I stop at the store, whether it be the supermarket by my house, which has very good produce,
mhm,
or a farmer's market on the way, and before I didn't have to go shopping but once every 2 weeks. Now I'm going every day for the place, and, it it it's frightening. The people, they're still wearing masks.
no,
They pile all this crap like diet soda. They'll put 3 cases,
shoot,
and they're morbidly obese, and I just wanna say, "Hey, that doesn't seem to be working. Why don't we try something else?"
mhm,
Um, but what can you do?
yeah.
You know?
I mean, and I think it's like,
I call them NPCs.
yeah, for sure. It's and it's like they get to this point where I just think that they're just unreachable and it's not worth it. That unless they, I don't know, something drastically changes in their life or wakes them up. It doesn't matter what you say, or what you do. They're never going to accept it. It's like being healthy, being holistic now is like looked at, I feel like, as a fringe belief. Like, have you noticed they're starting to like, oh, look at the crunchy people, look at the homestead. Like they're starting to lump everybody into a category, the same way they would do with like conspiracy theorists. But
Yeah.
there's a certain way that they speak about people like us. And I feel like that, so like those NPCs can automatically dismiss anything we might say, anything, where we try to help them. And I mean, it's sad to call somebody unreachable, but past a point, I feel like so many people are so far gone, that it just becomes not worth it, not worth the
It,
effort.
it's frustrating, but I, uh, you have to try. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't know about you, but I've had things in my life where people tell me the same thing. A thousand people might tell me the same thing, and then one person says it's slightly different, and I get it, and it
Yeah.
sticks.
Hmm.
So maybe if everybody out there that's trying to help people, you might say the same thing to 1,000 people, and if it helps one, it helps one.
Yeah.
I, I don't know. You can't quit.
Yeah. I guess I'm being a jaded New Yorker. That might be part of it.
I
Um,
get it.
but yeah, especially because of the way people react to things around here. People are highly dismissive and rude about things. But I guess, yeah, it just comes back to that whole idea of planting seeds, that even if it's not bearing fruit right now, you hope it just kind of got into them, that it worms their way in somehow and is
Yeah,
growing.
I don't think I'd feel the way I do today if I was still in New York.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, just saying.
Are people are people more open out in your area? Like,
Yes.
okay.
Yes, very much so.
Mhm.
Some says leave New York, move to AZ.
Mhm. I'm a Northeasterner at heart. Honestly, if I were to go anywhere, I think I would push farther northeast.
Canada, go see Trudeau.
No, I love those free staters in New Hampshire. They seem like a wild bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because I feel like people in New York, they wanna portray themselves as these health conscious people, and we're eating clean and we're going to the farmers markets. But it's, their actions in other ways, in other regards, don't line up with what they're saying, what they're preaching. I mean, we see the running to put certain chemicals in your body, like the people just voluntarily did. I don't want to say out of the kindness of their heart, out of the brainwashing present in their mind. Um,
Right.
yeah,
That's
and
what
then
it
it
is.
comes back to that same thing. You see them drinking diet cokes. You see them participating in certain things, using toxic skincare. I saw this great quote somewhere. It says, it's not the sun that's destroying you. It's your skin. It's not aging you. It's your toxic skincare products. People just willingly putting these toxins onto their body, into their skin. And like we talked about it, and like you mentioned with that Joker example, it's hitting us from every angle. It's like, okay, here's something here, here's another thing here. It kind of builds on it. You don't know what is causing an issue. Everything is an endocrine disruptor. It seems like everything destroys fertility. You have that population control thing coming into the situation too. You have carcinogens. We have we're getting hit from every side, just as is in our everyday life for decades. And then now you have these airborne toxic events that are happening within the United States. And I feel like it's like, you have this 1-2 punch. Maybe it wasn't working fast enough the other way. And yes, it's done a lot of damage the other way, but let's see how we can push this envelope even farther. Let's see how we can poison the water supply. Let's see how we can destroy the food supply. And it's interesting because where you start looking on the map of these places happening, it seems like they're trying to hit all the different corners of the United States. It seems like an intentional attack. Do you feel that way too, or am I being
I
paranoid?
I think now that the attacks that are or the spit accidents that have happened
Mhm.
that are public, um, are to cover up things that they've been doing, that aren't public. Why
Mhm.
why would they do things in public? It's,
Yeah.
to give something that they're already doing an excuse or a
Mm.
reason. Um, it's,
Gotcha. Like they can just poison the farmland and the food supply in a discreet way, more so than they're already doing, and
well, they've been
nobody would
putting
know.
they've been putting fluoride in the water. I mean,
Yeah.
that it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Talk about fluoride stairs. Um, and the fact that the public will just come in and completely buy the explanation, like, oh, fluoride in the water prevents decay and this and that, when studies show that it does not have any bearing,
Even
on
if
your
it
teeth at all.
even if it did, it's a neurotoxin.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's like saying, brushing with gasoline is excellent for your teeth.
And then smoke right away afterwards.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. Um, and what's also interesting is you have so many people who haven't touched that for years and their teeth are, perfectly fine, no issues at all, and are actually healthier than the people using using fluoride products, using fluoride water. Like I haven't used fluoride products in like 10 years.
Yeah, me
And
too, about that long.
right, our teeth should, according to them, our teeth should be rotting out of our heads right now, and
Yeah.
everything's good. But
Toothache all went
nobody
away.
wants to step back and look at those things. Like you see people using just conventional products, and like this is going to sound nasty and it's going to sound terrible, but people like to make fun of the natural products and be like, oh, those people smell, those people have bad oral hygiene, they stink if they use natural deodorant, this or that. But notice the people who do smell, like the people who reek, are usually using those really nasty products, and then when they switch to the natural products, it's better. Have you ever witnessed that happening? I've witnessed people switch
Yes.
over. What?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I'm like, they want to accuse us, but it's them. And then once they come to our side, they see where it's at. But so yeah, so it's interesting because I didn't consider what you were saying about it had never crossed my mind before about doing this publicly. So it's like there's a scapegoat in a way.
Yeah.
That's
Why
that
else would it be public?
that makes so much sense.
Why
It
wouldn't
really does.
why not make it public and have it hit a tiny little town with a few thousand people
Mhm,
and, a couple years from now, "Oh, wait, it got into the water supply and spread
mhm.
here. It was an unfortunate event."
Yeah. Oh, this is why you all are dying suddenly.
Right.
Yeah. It's nothing else. It's this vinyl chloride. I'm sorry it got into the whole water supply. It got into the farm supply. So,
Yep.
yeah. That completely makes sense. And I think they're just going to continue doing it from every angle. Um I mean,
I mean, who knows? Maybe that's the case. Maybe they're just so stupid that you can't tell. You can't really tell. Maybe they're just so stupid they're doing it public.
yeah.
Um,
I
I
mean,
don't know.
but people have become so like kind of dumbed down where I feel like they can do this stuff publicly too and get away with it and nobody will say anything because it's like people are just like gone. They're NPCs, as you as you said.
Half the people that you encounter every day have an IQ lower than the national average.
You is that really the statistic?
It's a fact.
It's a fact. Oh my gosh.
If it's the average, half
Yeah.
the people are lower.
Yeah.
And do you
Yeah.
know what the national average is here?
What is it low
It's double.
90s?
Yes.
I'm afraid.
I forgot you were a teacher. You're well aware of it.
No, 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 but I'm just yeah, it's it it's funny because I've always been an extrovert, but I have so much less of a tolerance for people more than ever. Like I feel like once I don't know what it was. I think first of all, like I've mentioned before in other streams, people just like completely showed their true colors. That was one thing, and it's like I don't want to be around that. But you really do start to see how dense people are. Like I thought people were smarter. I thought people had a backbone. I thought I thought wrong, I'm realizing. And it's not that, like, I'm not trying to say, "Oh, we're so much better than these people and we shouldn't be around them," but it's hard. I mean, it's really a challenge sometimes to just I it's funny because I heard somebody talk about NPCs, and they started, like, making certain correlations with certain types of behaviors. Now, I don't wanna offend anybody here, but I will I will
Good
repeat
girl.
the story. So, have you heard that thing where they talk about people who don't have an internal monologue?
Oh, Tim Pool was talking about that, and the guy said, "You mean they have no thoughts?" That doesn't even make sense to me. That how could you not have an internal monologue? That means you don't think.
Or they think visually, maybe? But somebody started digging into this, so I
They think
apologize to anybody in the chat who does not have an internal monologue, but I was
they think
watching
in
somebody.
sign language?
I don't know,
I don't know what you mean by think visually.
do
I
they think
mean,
in pictures, or they think in actions? I don't know, my head is constantly going a mile a minute. That's why I can hardly get my words straight, during this.
yeah, mine too.
Um, yeah, so, like, our brains are constantly going, and somebody said, like, I was curious, so I asked somebody who I did who I knew didn't have an internal monologue, and I asked her, I'm like, if you were to sit in a chair for 10 hours, what would you think about the whole time? And this person answers, I would just think about sitting in the chair. So maybe it is like what you said, that there are no thoughts. There's
No,
I don't know. So
I want it to not be. I want it to not be because I just think they don't understand what thoughts are. Maybe thoughts to them are when they're thinking and their mouth is moving. I'm reaching
yeah,
here.
that
I
there's
don't
okay, that there's just a different interpretation, that it's all relative. Um,
'cause
but,
if what that person's saying is true, they are an NPC.
yeah, so this was, I guess, the connection that she was making, and I'm like, "Oh, that kind," yeah, I'm like, "That is what an NPC is." She's like, "Oh my gosh, they're real NPCs because these people," or at least this person she was talking to and asking about it, was basically saying that she won't have any thoughts that whole time. And other people in the comments were like, "Are you kidding me? I would have had 10 arguments in my head by then, and, and
Yeah,
replayed 3 albums in my brain."
they
Oh,
should
yeah.
have what did that person do for a living?
I don't know what that person did for a living. It was, I guess, somebody just relaying a story on the worst place on TikTok, but saying, like, I think this might be what an NPC is.
Maybe they're a chair tester.
What's a chair tester? Oh, because, sitting in a chair for 10 hours. Yeah. But I
They're
guess he
just
was, yeah.
devoted.
It was a good way though to get into this person's brain, and then now, after I heard that, thinking back about some of the people I know who don't have an internal monologue, it's things started making sense. NPC things, like, I realized that those are some of the worst people I know.
Is that a TikTok brain?
Yeah, so have I heard of TikTok brain? Is that like an attention span thing? So have I heard of
I
TikTok
have
brain?
not. I'm not on TikTok, and I never will be, so I
Well,
don't know.
I know I'm using the Chinese weapon, but, it's a fun way to get some rants out into the world, except people are horrendous. Somebody, by the way,
You're
the
on
other day.
TikTok?
What? Oh, yeah, I'm on TikTok. I'll put some rants, but I usually will put them onto YouTube, so you've seen them. Um,
Alright.
but no, like, super toxic, probably one of the most toxic forms of social media. The other day, somebody had said to me, "Oh, that's a cute guy with makeup." I'm like, "Okay, thank you for saying I was a cute guy and not an ugly guy with makeup," but, that apparently I was. So I'm like, it's a very strange place. Sometimes, like, I had a couple of things blow up, and I'm like, I cannot read the comments because they're just so unhinged, and maybe that comes back to the TikTok brain thing. So 7 seconds is the current Instagram Reels algorithm times for video to go viral. Okay. And does that relate to, so that means that that's people's attention span. That's like goldfish attention span, which I know is a myth. That's what they say, that it's a myth about the goldfish's attention span, but I'm just saying. Um, but you see it with kids. Kids can't have a conversation anymore. Um, they will be sitting with family or they'll be sitting in a class and they'll just be scrolling the entire time. They have no way of like entertaining themselves anymore. I'm like,
Some
shoot, sit me
some
in the
kids
sun for
can.
5 hours by myself without a phone. I could entertain myself.
Some kids can.
What?
Some kids can.
Yeah, yeah. The kids that are taught in the right way and who aren't allowed access to these things.
I was with a
Um,
friend that took her daughter to, a a class of about a half hour, and it was an outdoor activity thing, and
mhm.
her younger son, 6 years old, nothing to do, no phone, no tablet. He just went on the side of this yard and started climbing a wood fence and brick wall and trees, and it was just so cool to watch. You don't see that anymore. And I'm thinking,
Gosh,
"Oh my
you
god, he's
don't.
gonna fall," but I'm like, "Well, let him fall. That's how you learn."
Yeah, no, it's true. They say that kids, like, need to be jumping off of things to, like, have
Yeah.
proper muscle and body development. And it's yeah, it's disturbing that, like, if I drive through a street and the kids have to move aside because 'cause they're playing in the street, like, it's a complete shock. I'm like, "Kids still
Car,
play outside." Like, it makes me so
game
happy, but it's
on.
completely shocking.
Yep.
Um so some says, not on TikTok. Good for you. I I'm like, should I even be there? But there are published studies being dubbed TikTok brain. The attention span is so short. Like some people will like sit hours and hours just scrolling through TikTok with those, short videos. You can see that it's a reprogramming of your brain. I can't do TikTok that long. I can't stand to be on there.
I did one
But
45-minute stint about, I don't know, 3, 4 years ago. Someone sent me a link and I clicked on it, and it was a short video,
mhm.
but I had never been on TikTok, and it just went into others, and about 45 minutes, I'm staring at the screen, I just off, never went back.
And that's that whole weaponized TikTok thing. That's what they want because their kids get the good TikTok that,
Mhm.
that has all the educational content. We get the ones that zombify us.
Yeah.
And when we talk about the
Tik
whole
TikToxic.
poisoning of yeah, poisoning of America. We talk about the toxins, we talk about the food changing, but like I think also other parts of it are the programming of your mind because health is
Completely.
full body health and so we're also being attacked mentally. Um
Mm.
we're They're making an effort basically to turn us into NPCs. Those of us who still are not there, that's what they're doing. So we're being attacked on all fronts. And I just want to hop back to what Ada said. So listen to Dr. Judy. Yes, okay. I was mentioning that to Brian before. Judy
Yeah, Ada was
Mikovits.
late. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is the woman who did Plandemic. Are you familiar with Plandemic?
Uh, is it a documentary?
It was the documentary that I think got really like really censored
I
early
may
on in
have,
the pandemic.
I don't know, I
Yeah, and I think
kinda blocked most of it out. I might have seen some of it.
okay, and she wrote the book Plague, and it's interesting because it relates back to what that whole idea of the Joker saying hitting people on every front. Dr. Judy, I'm pretty sure it's Mikovits talks about that something similar that it's being hit on every front that not that the GMOs we're being fed are made to then kind of have an effect on other things, other chemicals that get injected into our bodies, and that these things work together to cause a worse effect, almost like they activate each other. Um, and it's amazing because GMOs are one of those things that when you start talking about it, people get nasty.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed the people's reactions to GMO talk?
Uh, they react nasty to
Or is
me
it just
whenever I
my
talk about
experience?
food.
Oh, people, that's just people's okay, yeah. People
Yeah,
can't handle the truth.
yeah.
But I don't
You know
remember
what you
where, maybe it was sorry, go
what you were
ahead.
saying about, what I was saying before about the Batman and Joker thing, it also kinda is with the medical industry today. People see so many different doctors, so many different specialists, they have so many different medications that the doctors
Mhm.
aren't working with each other. Maybe the same thing's happening with
Oh, yeah.
medications. If you take
Oh, for
this one
sure.
for blood pressure and this one for diabetes, they don't jive and they cause something else.
Mhm.
Maybe that's a thing. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure it's a thing. I know certain pharmacies will like check if you. They say you should, if you're into this, consistently go to the same pharmacies so that they can check to make sure that there's no interactions happening. They can check on their computer systems. But it's interesting because I remember when I got my wisdom teeth taken out years ago, and they wanted to give me opioids for it, which I refused to
Yeah,
take.
me too.
Um, they were they were double checking on the computer to make sure I wasn't prescribed the opioids from anyone else, I guess, to make sure I'm not running around getting opioids from every doctor. And I'm like, wow, they sure make a big effort for that. But like you said, they let anything else happen, any other combinations happen, um,
No.
without even asking you. I mean, some of them, I guess, will ask you. I try to stay away from doctors, so I'm not entirely sure of the protocol. I don't really trust them.
Me
Um,
too.
Also, yeah, besides not trusting, I can't deal with the arrogance. There's such an arrogance in the medical profession. You can't even have a conversation with these people, and then they're like shocked when you understand and know things. Remember, I was talking to somebody once, and we were just casually talking about root canals and different things, and I knew what a cavitation was, and this doctor was shocked that I knew what a cavitation was. I'm like, gosh, just because I didn't go to med school doesn't mean that like I'm not capable of studying and
Right.
learning. You know, I hate that, don't confuse your search engine search with my medical degree, like
It's
those
funny
signs
you
they
you said root canal. I had
uh-huh.
one root canal in my life, and
Mhm.
the dentist that did it, he ended up breaking a drill bit in my tooth.
Ooh.
And it was found out later. I went back to New York. My sister's dentist is a good friend of hers, and she worked on my teeth. And she told me, and it rang a bell that when he was doing that, both he and the nurse, something happened. They both just sat back up real quick and looked at each other.
Mhm.
And I said, "What happened?" Or I said, "Whoa." And they said, "Oh, we just need a different drill bit." And it came back to me that that's what happened.
Mm.
And while he was doing it, he I went in for a toothache, and he said, "Oh, you need a root canal. We'll schedule it for next week. Take this medication in the meantime." Well, the medication fixed whatever was wrong, whatever infection I had, and
Mhm.
I didn't have any more pain. He goes, "Oh, I still got to do it." And I had done research, and I was like, "Well, what about this? What about that?" You shouldn't do root canals because it's the only time you kill a part of your body and leave it in you.
Oh,
He
yeah.
goes, "Well, where'd you hear that, on the internet?" I was like, "Yeah, same place I found you."
But yeah,
Um,
but it's the truth. You're leaving
right.
a dead bone in your
And this
body,
guy
but
and this guy goes, "Boy, I wish I could line up all those internet people, outside and take care of them." I was like, "What happens if they kick your ass in a parking lot, doc?"
yeah,
Um, and I never went back to him after that.
good. No,
I
yeah.
just,
It's completely arrogant.
yeah, so I got that tooth pulled and got a
Oh,
falsie
good.
put in,
Yeah.
um, and it's
Yeah.
been great. So,
And let me tell you, I'm on the same page as that. Like, and it's interesting because I know that there are holistic dentists that will try to see what they can do to heal. So maybe that, had it been a holistic dentist, they would have said, okay, your pain, your infection's gone. Let's see what else we can do.
right.
But it's I'm on the same page as root canals. Like I thankfully haven't had I'm fortunate to have okay teeth, nothing, no problems. But I had something happen a few years ago. I had braces for 5 years, and they didn't straighten one tooth in the back. And unfortunately, if you have a crooked tooth, it's more susceptible. So I had a cavity, and as they were doing stuff, they're like, "Okay, I'm sorry, you're going to need a root canal. We're going to send you out to this person to do it." And I was like, "No, thank you." I went and had it pulled immediately. And thankfully they were accepting of it. Nobody tried to bother me about it. But I'm like, how many people just go, okay, let me go get that root canal,
A
and like
lot,
don't even think
like
about what that means. What?
most people.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I know so many people, friends are like, "Oh, I'm having a root canal or this or that." And I'm like, how many people are walking around with mouths just full of these dead bones and not understanding that teeth are porous and have all those microtubules going out.
Right,
So dead
right.
tooth, it's all holding bacteria. Um
I think a
l-
large portion of it is the cost involved.
mhm,
Dental work's not cheap.
mhm,
I happen to live within driving distance to Mexico, and you can go get dental work there, at a fraction of the cost. Good work, not like, bad
Really,
work.
not
Yeah.
scary work.
They're deadly slow poison. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I also,
yeah.
the same dentist that took that out, that told me about it and took it out, also removed all the mercury in my mouth
Oh, that's
from
great. So you just
childhood
revamped
filling.
it.
Yeah, everything gone.
Yeah.
So,
No, I mean, yeah. So like I first of all, at the time, I didn't have the money for a root canal, but even if I did, this idea of, like we said, leaving a dead thing in your body. I was like, absolutely not. Let me get an extraction. And thankfully, the oral surgeon was like, looked at it and said, listen, root canal probably would have failed anyway. He had the kindness to tell me the truth about it, and I got rid of it, and I am so happy, and it was in the back and it's gone. And I don't have health problems from that too, thankfully, because if you believe in
yeah.
meridians, certain teeth line up with certain meridians in the body. That was on the breast meridian. A lot of people who come down with breast cancer have a root canal in that tooth. So I'm like, that's not really a gamble
Interesting.
you want to take.
I never heard of
um
that.
and what?
I never heard of that.
Oh yeah, yeah, the certain I never was into the whole meridian thing because I thought it was like a woo-woo new age type thing. But once I was learned that it had to do more with like kind of electrical circuits in the body, and that having a root canal there kind of blocks it and causes, the energy block of that electricity. I'm like, okay, that makes a lot of sense to me. And yeah, so like people who get root canals in the front, sometimes they have kidney issues because it's like on the kidney meridian. So it might be interesting for you to look up that original root canal that you had, what meridian it was on, and think back if you had any issues during that time. But there was a really excellent documentary I watched on it called Root Cause. Except the whole dental industry tries to go after it and say, no, the information's wrong, the information's fake, this, that.
Right. I think I
Yeah,
have that documentary. I think, yeah.
it's a good one. Yeah.
Blueberry Lex says she didn't know root canals were so bad.
Oh, yeah. Totally toxic. Like if you have the ability to take it out of your body and do something else with it, like that's personally what I would do. Um, and that's the thought that I have now. I'm like, if I ever, even if it's up front and I'm told I have to have a root canal, I will pull that rather
Yeah.
than,
Yeah.
aesthetically it's horrifying to me, but I will do what I have to do. And there are cosmetic solutions that deal with that.
She wants to know what a root canal is, and I asked her to come here today. She's a friend of mine. She's a nutrition major.
Oh, cool.
But a root canal is basically they drill into your tooth into the root to kill the tooth, but they leave the tooth there. So it's basically a piece of dead body that's still in your mouth. But
Mhm.
killing the root kills any pain, kills the pain receptors. If you have an infection or a bad cavity or something that's hurting, they kill the root and no more pain.
And it's basically being left there for function and aesthetics. But we live in a time where you can get something fake for
Yeah.
function and aesthetics. So it's completely unnecessary. And I know money is involved in it, but I feel like that also further comes back to the whole poisoning
Yes,
of America
that's
thing.
the other side of it. They right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just another way to get to us.
Yeah.
And it's funny because again, this is like such a fringe belief. People want to act like, this is such an extreme thing to do. That was an extremely hostile thing of me to do, to be like, now root canal, pull. But
Yeah, like when I
it's
questioned it, the guy he almost wanted to go fight. And it was like,
I it's it's like besides being arrogant, they're so defensive of their positions, of just I don't know if it's like that they don't want to believe that they've been just cooperating in a lie and that they spent so much money learning lies. I don't understand what it is, or if it's just a brainwashing past the point. But it's
it's an IQ test.
yeah, like you said, the IQ in this country is it's in a pretty scary place.
Yep.
And I mean, and if you look at also the action of, those type of toxins and just poisons, heavy metals in the womb, I mean, you're certainly not getting the same brain development that you would have gotten 100 years ago.
Yeah.
So even if even if you're living a completely healthy lifestyle, but unfortunately you came out of a mother who was living a traditional conventional medicine lifestyle, you kind of are at risk too. So at least, okay, at least you can kind of, I'm not trying to, that sounds really terrible.
No, it's true, and I
Yeah.
came to this realization recently at the, wellness clinic that has all
Mhm,
these alternative modalities that, I used to be big on just go natural,
mhm,
and, unfortunately, we're being bombarded with so much crap today that even if you try to go 100% natural, unnatural things are attacking you, so we have to use unnatural alternatives to combat it.
mhm,
Like a hyperbaric chamber, there's nothing natural about that.
mhm,
Red light therapy, there's nothing natural about that.
mhm.
But these are the tools we have to use to combat
Yeah.
the unnatural things attacking us.
But I think the cool thing about those things is it is inspired by the natural world. Like, red light therapy
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
is based
Yeah,
off the sun rises and the sun sets. Hyperbaric is just oxygen at a different pressure, at a different altitude,
mhm.
right?
Yeah,
So I
it's,
feel like
you're breathing 100% oxygen and you're, at least this place, we go down to a depth of 33 feet, the equivalent of a depth of 33 feet. I
okay.
think it's, I'm still new at it. I think it's a 2.0, uh, whatever the acronym is. Someone can tell me in chat. And I have to correct, Blueberry Lek in chat. We have no accent.
No, this is we are one of the original 13 colonies. So this is the way we are
Correct.
supposed to speak in the United States.
Right.
And you know what? I will say, I've said this a few times, so forgive me to anybody who I'm repeating myself, but I have to say it again because it's important to say. I believe that New Yorkers are speaking, for the most part, there are some exceptions, but phonetically correctly. If you look at English phonics,
Facts.
like 'cause certain things in like the neutral American accent don't make sense phonetically. Okay, I will give it to you. Walk and talk. We say that wrong here. I have trouble with that L, but everything else, I feel like once you start looking at the proper phonics, I'm like, we are saying things correctly. I'm like, and it makes sense. We're one of the original colonies, but much love to everybody else with non-New York accents. We still love you too.
That's true.
Um, yeah, but and I'm sorry, this conversation, Brian, I'm sorry because I know you came so well prepared, operates like my brain. It's all
I
over the
know. It
place.
it kinda, and I was saying that to Lek before. I wanted her here because she was a nutritionist,
Mhm.
um, and we kinda train went off the rails, no pun.
Yeah, no, but I'd be happy to get back to nutrition. So, would you like to get us kicked off on that?
Yeah, I put in the chat before, to
Yeah.
give people a heads up, let them look at it. Another interesting one I found today was, the how do you word early food and nutrition labeling efforts in the USA, and it goes through a
Mhm.
history of it starting in 1862. Um, can I share my screen or share a
I
tab? I
I
think I
think
can.
so. I think you have the option at the bottom.
All right, let me hide stuff here.
Yeah, and forgive me for going off the rails, everybody. Because to me, when I look at Poisoning of America, it just kind of it my brain goes to all the different angles of it and the intentionality of it. Ah, there it is.
I don't see
So
it.
what? Yeah, I see it. Do I have to pull this up
Oh yeah,
now?
you have to pull it up. Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
All right. This is, basically a history of all the guidelines for, food labeling. And I didn't even get through it all. I got distracted
Mhm.
when I got up to, like, 2010. Um, it got kinda disturbing, and
Mm.
it's too long, as you can see, to read all of it to everybody, but I put the link in there so people can check it out. But like starting in 1862, President Lincoln launches the Department of Agriculture and the Bureau of Chemistry, the predecessor to the Food and Drug Administration. And then, 44 years later, the Food and Drug Act is passed. It prohibits interstate commerce in misbranded and adulterated foods, drinks, and drugs. But like, look how slow things used to work without, mass media, internet communication. 44 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Um, uh, and then again in '06, The Jungle, a novel of horrendous sanitary and working conditions in the meatpacking industry. The Meat Inspection Act is passed. So lots of things happened through there. This was one of the big ones. In 1971, artificial sweetener saccharin, included in FDA's original GRAS, generally recognized as safe list, is removed from the list pending new scientific study. Where's another one?
Which is interesting because weren't they using saccharin into the 90s?
Oh yeah.
Because I remember being a kid and seeing the labeling on there. Oh, this
Yeah,
contains
that was in
saccharin.
71 and 73. 50, sorry. Wait, there's another one in here about saccharin somewhere. The one that I'm looking for was a big one. I forget what year it was. I thought it was 1970. It might have been in another site I found that they started really attacking saturated fat. Or no, they started attacking fat, but saying sugar was okay. And
Mm.
the diabetes went skyrocketing. And the average American went from about 2 to 3 pounds, I think, of sugar a year to 127 pounds of sugar a year
Oh my
intake.
gosh.
Yeah. And then go figure, diabetes goes nuts.
Diabetes goes up, but also once you start removing the fats, you also have Alzheimer's rates going up.
Yeah. I think it was this one. Oops. Let me put this one in the chat as well because I'm going to be going through it quick. People want to look at it. Oh no, this is the 50 things. Oh no, what is it?
I think this was the 50 things, that
Oh, here it is. The sugar industry began funding research in the 1960s designed to minimize the health risks of sugar and emphasize the dangers of fat. The marketing campaign apparently worked as sugar consumption exploded from a couple pounds per person per year to 123 pounds per person in 1970 and 152 pounds today, or 42.5 teaspoons per day.
ooh,
That's today. And I think this was done 2 or 3 years ago.
oh my
That's
gosh. Can
crazy.
you imagine? I mean, and this
152 pounds of sugar a year.
I can't even imagine. And to top it off, what's even scarier is this isn't even regular cane sugar. A lot of times this is coming from corn. This is corn-based
Yeah,
sugar, high
high
fructose
fructose
corn
corn
syrup.
syrup, yeah. Now they
It's
they don't call it high fructose corn syrup anymore, they call it corn sugar. I
Oh,
read
do
in one of those
oh,
things.
I see, that's sneaky, but there's that labeling. I think one of the things on here, it said, like, 1990s, the food labeling changes. So it's
Yeah,
like, we don't just get food labeling changes, we also get terminology changes, which is meant to be deceptive. It's meant so
yes.
you can, yeah, look at things
And
like
that's how why I didn't get to finish this because it was so frustrating and so, angering to me that the it it the fix is in. Um, it's
And
just
then when we get offered, like, those quote unquote "healthy alternatives," they're not healthy. Like, they're not, like, you really just need to cut it out completely. But, like, if you look at the way stevia is made
yeah,
through a highly toxic process, and then depending on the type of stevia you're using, it's mixed with maltodextrin, and again, fancy way of hiding the fact that it's corn. Um, so it screws with your body in a very similar way that sugar does anyway.
yes.
um And it's just that sneaky, it's almost like a greenwashing.
Yeah. But people, take a look at those links. They're a lot to get through. Um, maybe you learn something, maybe you don't. I don't know.
And what's also interesting is the food pyramid change. That change to the food pyramid. And
Yes.
the thing that they want you to consume the most in the food pyramid is grain, right?
Is that it? I don't pay
I
attention to it.
think I think that's the grains, which we know once it's in the body, carbs turn into sugars. Um, so you see, like, sugar, besides being just straight up cane sugar or corn syrup, it's also being pushed on us through the higher consumption of carbs. And I'm not demonizing all carbs. I know that our brain does need carbohydrates to a certain extent in order to function properly. But you also see sugar being pushed into our diet in all these other sly ways. Let's get it kind of under the radar. And besides diabetes, they say sugar, like, is the cause of a lot of disease happening. Um, and I think it really comes back to that example you gave with the Joker. Um, you start sliding in the sugar in all different ways. You can't just blame one thing, because here it is, it's here and it's here and it's here, and it's just completely adding up in all different ways, so that you can't point the finger at one thing. And then people think they're avoiding things that were horrendous, and here they are thinking they're doing a better alternative, and they're not.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm getting a text from somebody, the owner of the wellness center, asking if I could please mention the name. I've talked about it so much. So yes, it's Eminent Wellness Center. I'm going to throw the link in here.
oh, cool.
Um, We'll check it out. It's an amazing place, and we're looking
Okay,
to
I didn't want
grow.
to dox you by asking you for the name. So,
Oh, no, I got a text. He's like, "Try and mention the name, please."
oh, this is, yeah, it's such an amazing thing to have around you, such a great opportunity, um, to have a place you can walk into, and that you
Yeah,
could work with people. Because I feel like around here, there are some places, there are opportunities for certain things, but it doesn't feel like there's a lot of good guidance. There are cryo wellness centers, but it's like, how much do they really know,
yeah,
besides just having you stand in that cool tank? So I love that this is just
that's the
like,
tank. That's his actual tank.
wow.
Yeah, I go in that. I try and do it every day. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes it's full, and I don't wanna bump, a client out, because I'm in there every day.
Mhm.
That's the,
I
red
love
light
it.
bed. Every breath matters. That's so true. You go in there, all you have to do is sit there and breathe deep. That's it. Uh,
Sit where? Oh, in the
Sit in the
chamber.
tank. You wear this mask. It's kind of like a jet fighter mask.
Uh-huh.
So you're breathing pure oxygen, and your exhale is going out another tube. You just sit there and breathe deep as you can, as long as you can. Um, Boost your body's natural healing process by enjoying the largest freestanding hyperbaric oxygen chamber in Arizona. Promote healing while you optimize sleep, speed up recovery, repair muscles, and improve your cognitive clarity. Um, and the cryotherapy, like I was telling you, it's let me full screen this. It was it goes down to minus 220 Fahrenheit. But it does it in 2 to 3 minutes. Helps you
Yes.
repair your sympathetic nervous system, which creates that dopamine, and more, promoting healing to both physically and mentally. The red light is pretty cool too.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
like that red light, 'cause I feel like you see those results very, very quickly in your skin if you're doing it for, like, aesthetic reasons.
yeah, I did. I had something going on my skin and
Mhm.
on the side of my face, and 2 treatments gone. So
Oh, that's amazing.
yeah,
I've used it in the past to just be, like, glowy, and, you can see the difference in it. I've never tried it for anything else, but that's, like, an amazing testimonial for it with skin things. And, I had suggested it to my parents, and they got their own mini unit, and my mom was having some joint pain, and the unit that I suggested to them had some infrared in it also, and she like noticed a difference within like with just a couple of sessions.
Yeah, just the other day I was in there with a woman that had tremors in her neck,
Hmm.
uncontrollable, and it was her first dive. They call it a dive, even though you're not going underwater. When you go in the tank, they call it a dive. And it was her first dive, and I had to help her a little bit with popping her ears
Hmm.
because as you go down in depth, you have to pop your ears. And if you can't, it's actually a tuning fork. You hit it on your knee and you hold the bottom of the fork, you put it in your ear and you wiggle it and your ear pops.
Oh.
Yeah. And there's a couple different methods to do it. I was in there with a 6-year-old having trouble, and what worked the best was tickling him. So he screamed and popped his ears. But
Whatever works.
yeah, when we got down to depth of 33 feet, her tremors stopped.
Wow.
Yeah, she was blown away. So
It's like we're given everything we need on this earth to heal. It's like we just have to put it to use,
yeah,
utilize it.
yep,
And what is that besides just oxygen and pressure? Like you
yep,
said, it's unnatural in one way, but it's completely natural in the other way.
yeah, and all his modalities, they're not even all listed on here. The web page is under construction, so I'm sorry, not everything's on here. But they each feed off each other. If you
Mhm,
went into
mhm,
this place and did a lap or any place like it, if you're elsewhere in the country, and I call it doing a circuit rather than a lap, you do the hyperbaric, the red light, the cryo, the vibration pads. He's even got brain tap, where it's binaural beats along with laser on your eyes. Your eyes are closed, but lasers flashing in specific ways. The stuff's amazing. It really, really is.
It
And
is,
the
and
red light helps for hair growth.
yeah. Oh, I've
That's
seen where people, like, buy, like, certain, like, helmets with the red light helmets, and
Oh, I
that
haven't seen that, but yeah, that would work.
yeah, people losing their hair, it made a big difference for them. And it's interesting to see more people kind of now opening up to these other ways. Like, again,
Yeah.
like we mentioned before, they're still doing other things that make absolutely no sense, but yet there's a little more openness happening for in certain regards. Now, I think it's because of like trendiness sometimes on Instagram. Like it looks Instagrammable to be in a red light and take a picture or to be in a
Yeah.
sauna or something. So I feel like that kind of in one way opens people up to it. So they try it for whatever fun social media reason they want and they end up seeing the good in it. Again, I just don't understand people that just don't want to incorporate it all.
Yeah. I'm looking for one testimonial. I think this one's it. It's really amazing. It says, "My husband had a massive heart attack November 18th, 2000." It keeps switching, sorry. 2021, it was administered CPR for 60 minutes total. After 4 months of being in the hospital and losing most of his cognitive functions, like speech and motor skills, we decided to take him to the Eminent Wellness with all of their combined modalities, especially the where did I go? I got lost here. Especially the red light therapy and hyperbaric chamber. He is now able to walk and talk like he used to. He still has a long way to go, but it's the little wins that make it worthwhile for us. Mark and the whole team at Eminent have been absolutely amazing and recommend anyone that is suffering from anything to go in and try their center out.
That's
It's
incredible.
things like this place that combat all those unnatural things in the food that's poisoning us,
Hmm.
that we're being attacked with. You
Hmm.
just you can't fight it the standard ways, because the standard way would be go to your doctor and get a pill. Well, that's just more poisoning. That's
And
another
more the
attack
same.
vector. It's
Oh yeah. No, completely. And I know that it's not always easy for everyone to completely kind of step away from those conventional methods because there is a cost involved with buying better products. Um and there is like, I don't know, an adjustment. It's hard to sometimes get over the mental hurdle, but I feel like for
It really
people who,
is.
yeah, for people who
Yeah.
like really want to, and are struggling to step into it, even baby steps make a difference.
Yes, absolutely. Baby steps
Yeah,
make it.
that it's like every little thing helps. And it's okay if it, like, because I know there's also the all or nothing attitude where people are like, well, if I can't eat perfectly, if I can't cleanse my body of everything, what's the point? Let me just, let me just destroy myself. But a lot of this stuff is accumulation. So the less accumulation, less stuff that you accumulate, the better off that you are. You give your body a better chance of clearing this stuff out if you have less of it going into your body.
Well, like you're saying,
Um,
the less you accumulate, once you finally wake up,
yeah,
I hope that you do, you have less to clear out.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. It's like you're putting less strain on your body.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
I just want to. Oh, I want to hop over to the live chat here.
Yeah,
Um,
how do I undo this?
oh, there we go.
There, thanks.
So Blueberry said it had an insane amount of carbs. Oh yeah, at the bottom of the pyramid. And again, our brain needs carbs to a certain extent, but too much of it, what starts happening is like what Riddick said. When your body starts burning calories, you're gonna burn those sugars first and then fat. And sometimes if you're not burning enough calories, that fat doesn't get burned. So it's like being put there as a placeholder. And that's why we have these obesity rates that are going up. Um, and it's like you look at the food pyramid, it's like, was it made by kindergartners? Like, how can you be a health quote unquote expert and write something like that? It just blows my mind. So that's why, my mind keeps going back to the whole idea of this is intentional. There's
Yeah.
no other explanation happening here. And Blueberry, I think it's really interesting that you're studying nutrition, um, because,
I think she's going
well,
for a
for me,
master's now.
are you going, okay, so you're going for your master's in nutrition, because it's in medicine, like, it's incredible that it's such a neglected thing for doctors to study. Like, they have one class in nutrition and that's it. And you would
Yeah.
think that, healing the body, that that's going to be like the first thing you look at. What are you putting in your body that's causing damage? What is causing your issues? That should be the first place you look, the first thing that you ask, and they don't. So being able to really like study it and break it down, I think is just an incredible thing. And being aware of what's happening with the poisoning and the toxins of America. Because you also get those nutritionists who are well studied, but who are like completely like food pyramid brainwashed too. Um and just like suggesting the weirdest stuff, like, oh, put more protein in your diet, but get the slim fast protein. I knew a doctor who's like, I hope he never finds this channel. It was like, oh yeah, yeah, I do protein shakes. I do slim fast protein. I almost died when I heard that. So these people, again, quote unquote experts, doctors that should know nutrition, or even like these nutritionists who are just so brainwashed in the conventional way, is just baffling and scary. And you wonder, well, not you wonder why, but you see why people are getting sicker and sicker, even if they're trying to turn their lives around and they think they're being healthier, but the things that they think are healthier actually aren't. Like that toxic chicken that we talked about. They think they're eating something good for themselves, and meanwhile it's
I had a thought about that toxic chicken being
Mhm.
washed with bleach. I wonder if it has anything to do with Trump saying you should drink bleach. That
Injected, right? Remember
that was a joke. That was a joke, people.
I almost forgot about that. Oh gosh, anything that man said, they just
Yeah,
yeah. But meanwhile, you can have the guy on the stage with dementia, and that's all good. We're gonna pretend that's normal.
yeah.
Not that I'm making fun of. I have, people that I know with it, and when
That's a
you
whole
when you
nother duck hole.
yeah, when you're around it, but it comes also back to the fats. I am
Yeah.
on the I am in that school of thought that the reduction in fats, the trends in certain generations of let's reduce our fat, let's reduce our fat. Fat is nourishment for the brain. I think that is linked to that uptick in dementia and Alzheimer's, because you're not. giving your brain what it needs to be able to function. Right? I mean,
Look at Sums.
what did some say? When you taught at a Montessori school, the most unhealthy packed lunch was the doctor's son, a frozen banquet dinner. There you go. Yeah, we had to microwave it for him. He was obese and 8 years old. Oh my gosh, that's so sad. I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at the kid. I'm just laughing at like these doctors, these people. And always it's like the most unhealthy people you see sometimes are doctors. They're overweight. They're just living these lifestyles where you would assume that they're in some other profession, that they're in finance sitting at a desk all day. And yeah, but I guess it's par for the course. Look at everything else these doctors are doing. So we shouldn't be surprised by their nutrition.
Yeah.
Oh, Ada brings up an interesting, yeah, this is,
Yeah. I told I told Ada, I said, as a vegan, I try not to think about it.
and I guess luckily, yeah, you don't have to worry about something like that. But I I've thought a lot about this because I used to be very heavily plant-based, but as you know, I kind of veered into the carnivore territory for a little bit. But so my heart that kind of got like more into meats. I'm like they just found a way to they found a way around for that 15%. They're trying to catch that 15%. And when you think about meat and the way it's prepared, this type of mRNA, I don't believe can survive cooking. So I'm like, what is the purpose? What is the purpose if you can't get it into the person, that coating in their body? It's just gonna degrade when it's cooked, and then it hit me.
Where did you hear that it can't survive cooking?
Because it has to, because the vaccine has to be kept at a certain temperature. That's why you kind of see certain groups of people, certain states, certain areas with maybe more reaction to the vaccine than others. It kind of like gets nullified if it's not at a certain temperature. It has to be kept at a very low temperature. So kind of going off that, maybe that's my assumption. Once you cook it, you kind of denature it a bit so that it doesn't have that effect in your body. Because like
But it's
at a
not.
certain
It's
temperature,
no longer the vaccine once it's in a system. It's part of that system. So I don't
it's
think cooking would have any effect on it.
yeah.
Or
Well, it's part of
if they put information out there that cooking did nullify the mRNA, maybe that's false information to put you at ease.
Yeah, well, they never that was my own theory, just knowing,
Oh, okay.
the denaturing of things at your body past a certain temperature. But yeah, no, I understand. They're not giving the vaccine, but because I don't know, because we don't know exactly how that coating exists in the body, because we know that it's manufacturing spike proteins most likely unlimited throughout the entire life of the person who took it. But I'm like, is there some of that messenger RNA sitting around so that it could be passed to somebody? Because they do say that it is passed in certain situations, that there's a theory, certain body fluids that people can infect others. You've heard those theories, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, again, these are just my crazy theories. So I'm like, okay, well, if it is able to infect people like that, I'm like, if the meat is cooked, it would denature it. So what would be the purpose? But I'm like, okay, if that animal is now infested with spike protein, you're just infesting people with spike protein, people who that's not already existing in their body. So you have somebody who's living a healthy life, whose body isn't constantly manufacturing spike proteins. Okay, what way can we get the spike proteins into them? Okay, let's feed them this thing that's completely contaminated. And spike protein being less biological and just being a protein, I'm assuming doesn't become denatured at a certain temperature. But this is just the ideas I'm bouncing around in my mind. But to eliminate that, you are right. Just be a vegan.
But you also have a chemistry background, was it?
A biology.
Biology background. Okay.
Yeah.
So
So I'm just being, I don't know. I'm just being a little insane here.
nothing wrong with that.
Throwing these ideas around, trying to understand what the purpose is, or not the purpose is, but like how they're how they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah, some
Um,
says they're putting it in plants also.
I've heard that. I've heard that that leafy greens was one of the big ones they wanted to try that in. And then I had also heard that they wanted to um, infect the insects with it that are pollinating these plants. So I'm like, what is the answer?
This
I'm like,
is not
they're just finding any way to do it. So I'm like, is the answer to have greenhouses where the insects can't get in, but you need insects for pollination. So you got to do your own pollination.
this is a simulation, and the computer it's running on is completely fragmented. It needs to be defragged and rebooted. Um, it's the only it's the only answer.
The only thing that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, Sorry, I'm just catching up on these. I mean, yeah, because nothing. Well, yeah, nothing makes sense anymore, does it? Um,
Truth.
Blueberry said,
Yeah,
"I
go
used to
ahead.
work in public health and saw a 3-year-old with the whole mouth of cavities." Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
she
Yeah,
has, yep.
yeah, it's diet. They say so much of this. I mean, because your teeth are living, they're alive, they're affected by your diet if you're not
But
eating properly.
what is that? That's bad parenting. The kid
Yeah.
is crying, give him some candy, he wants candy, he won't shut up till he gets candy, give him candy, and they
Yeah.
give him candy.
Candy, and they say falling asleep, letting kids fall asleep with bottles in their mouth also cause tooth decay. Um,
Huh,
and then if you're eating processed foods and garbage, your teeth aren't growing in properly. You're not getting the nutrition that you need.
yeah.
Um, yeah, some had said to buy grass fed locally. You buy bulk from a local rancher. I would just now be making sure that they're not injecting certain things into their meat because okay, like I know organics. You can't have hormones. You can't have certain types of feed, but do they make an allowance for vaccination for animals? Like I don't know, do cows get rabies shot or whatever? So I'm like, can you find unvaccinated meat to eat? Because you can't trust any of them now. It's not just COVID, it's everything.
That's right.
The spike proteins aren't the live parts of the require refrigeration. Okay, yeah. So that's why I think that because it's not live, I feel like it can't become denatured if you cook it, that they'll still exist in that.
Hmm.
Um, when the end goal is about 500 million people, you all got to go out. I know it's like it feels like a roll of the dice. Which one of us get to stay? Does
That's what I
that
mean, the
sound
attack
terrible?
vectors they're adding up daily.
Yeah, yeah, and like really, at such a fast rate. I mean,
Yeah.
I knew they really wanted to clear us out, but they're really ramping it up. It's like they're getting desperate.
The eventual inevitability of, you know, all of it is the only fix is go get a piece of land,
Hmm.
dig a well,
Hmm.
homestead, and don't
Yeah,
play the game.
yeah,
That's the only way.
yeah.
Um,
And then unfortunately though, like, they're contaminating everybody's water supply. But you had mentioned distillation, like that
yeah.
that's
And,
probably
you
an
know,
ideal.
and you were talking about it last week. I was in the chat. It requiring a lot of power. You can use. There are methods to distill your water just with solar, and I don't mean solar electric power. I mean solar heat. Just
Oh.
with rudimentary things. Distillation is very a simple process. It's the water evaporating and then catch it. So you can
Mhm.
just get a big tray of water and put an angled piece of glass on it. The sun will evaporate the water onto the glass. It goes down, and you catch it on a pipe on the end. It's
Mhm.
a slow process, but you know, it is what it
Yeah.
is. You want clean water, there's always a price.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think my concern was, yeah, more of the the amount of water you get and the time that it takes, I think more so than power. That was my concern. But yeah, if you have no other choice, if that's the only way to do it, then you have to do what you have to do.
Well, and you'd have to use that water specifically for cooking. You don't have to use it for other things. You
Mhm.
can bathe and sewage and stuff with non-pure water.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, you just use that for certain purposes. But definitely now with what's going on, I would say I think people should have full house filters if possible, or if not, at the very minimum, buy those shower filters. Because I mean, if you look at the people in
yeah,
East Palestine with that water, even if they're not drinking it, they're bathing in it. They're showering. They are washing their hands multiple times a day with it. Um, so and think about when you're in the shower, it the steam in the air. Like I noticed, I never made the connection, but I recently realized I always feel out of breath when I get out of the shower, and I just assumed it's hot, it's steamy. Maybe it's just harder to breathe in this situation. But I started realizing I'm like it's probably the chlorine and everything in the air, just giving you some sort of weird reaction to it. And I'm like,
Could
and it
be.
really kind of drove home the importance to me of shower filters because
Yeah.
besides being on the skin, it's in the air too, and you're breathing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just, water that people are bathing in, but in places like East Palestine, where the water got infected. I mean, think of again the nutrition, the downside of nutrition with people. How many people go to fast food and get a
Mm,
Coke or a Pepsi or whatever from any fast food from a soda machine? You think they're using filtered water on that? Most
no.
places just use tap water,
Mhm.
mix it with the syrup, so
Yeah.
you're
Oof.
getting it in, you're drinking it.
Yeah.
It's it's
I mean,
scary.
yeah. Honestly, I think it's besides fast food, people feel like though if they're going to a regular restaurant, then they're safe, then it's better. But I mean,
Anywhere, what's the first thing they offer you? Any restaurant you go to when you
mhm,
sit down?
yeah,
Would you like
it's
some
tap
water?
water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's
tap
always
water.
tap water. Um, but even like what they're doing in the back, they're using the worst oils. They're using the cheapest oils. I don't care if you're at a more expensive restaurant, the quality of the food that they're bringing in, I'm sure it's farm stuff, which farm salmon is one of the things on the list
Yeah.
that are allowed in America, but you can't get it in Europe. I mean, I've worked in restaurants a couple of times in my life, and one of the things that really stood out to me was the quality of the ingredients that they're using. It doesn't matter if, I've worked on kind of both ends of the scale restaurant wise, and I'm like they're using the cheapest stuff, to kind of to get their profit. So I'm like I hate restaurants. It's
Yeah.
disgusting once you step back and really look at what they're doing. Like has anyone here ever stepped into a restaurant depot? I mean, that's really the bottom most quality of anything that you're going to get. So I think the safest thing, healthiest thing is just to eat at home.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah. Um, Riddick says, remember a video made by a guy who grew up in the US and came to the EU. After he ate his first meal, he said, so this is how meat should taste like. I love that. I had that reaction to meat upstate, a small local meat. I'm like, I don't feel gross after eating this. Like I ate a burger, and usually when you eat a burger, you feel full. You kind of feel like kind of nauseated, at least me. And I had a burger upstate, small local burger, probably made the meat was raised the town over, and I'm like, I'm not nauseous, I'm fine. It's really interesting what happens with the different qualities of meat and how our body reacts to it
I remember the
if you're
best
into meat.
burger I had before being vegan was at a place called the Firehouse in Tempe, Arizona, and they went and got local meat.
Mm.
I believe it was local meat, and you'd pick the piece of meat you wanted, and they would put it through the grinder right in front of you and make the burger,
Oh
and
wow.
put nothing else in it. And they were gigantic, and they were so good. They were so good.
Gosh, man, that's I mean, that's some real farm to table stuff going on, kind of,
Yeah,
doing it right in front of you. That's the way it should be. I mean,
I
we've
know.
gotten so far removed from our food and from where it comes from and the processes of growing it. Like, most kids probably can't tell you like what a Brussels sprout plant looks like.
Right.
We're so far removed from it. And that like here that some says, people complain that grass fed is too gamey because people don't know that that's what, things are they're supposed to taste different. That meat that you're getting in Stop and Shop, it isn't really the best. It's not ideal. And Ada says, got to make sure livestock aren't coming from Ohio and contaminated areas because unfortunately we are so far removed. People don't know where their food comes from. And that's one of the things I love about driving upstate. I'm like, I know where that food comes from. I'm standing on the farm that grew it. I know exactly what kind of water they're using. I think we need to get back to, even if you're not going to homestead yourself, but just
Yeah.
knowing more about where everything comes from, knowing the
Being so removed from your food reminds me of a meme years back when I was a new vegan, where this guy was in a supermarket selling bacon, like at a stand, like a new product.
Mhm.
And people would come up and they wanted taste and everything, and they ran out. And he was like, "Oh, hold on, I'll get some more." And he pulled out a little live pig, like a little baby pig, and he went to put it in the grinder. And the people are like, "No, no, 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 no," you know, it's like
Yeah.
they're removed from their food.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, and I do prefer being like my meat being anonymous. But I think, yeah, that understanding is important, that, I have visited some of these farms and I've seen the animals that are raised on it. I just don't want to meet the animal they're going to slaughter for me. I'd rather, just buy it out of their freezer way after the fact. But yeah, like people don't want to make that connection. And I think it's a sad reality of eating meat. But if you want to eat meat, then you have to be willing to accept that that was a cute little animal and that's what you're destroying. um so that is the mental gymnastics that my brain goes through. I feel bad for the animal, but I love the meat. But I am getting away from it because of the concerns now with meat and animal products and what they're putting in it,
But
mRNA
even
wise.
plants, like last night I was talking, I forget, uh, Christian, he's in the chat sometimes. I sent him a link to what are the seeds called? The heirloom seeds.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna be like cash when shit hits the fan.
Oh,
You can get them now. There was a pack on Amazon, I think, for $150 with a whole assortment of them. It was pretty good.
oh yeah, and they
I
taste
should get
better. But
some.
those heirloom varieties always taste better. They might not be as pretty. They might be
Yeah.
harder to grow, some of them, but they taste good. And I think a lot of these hybrid varieties, and of course the GMO varieties, are made so that you can't easily save seeds from generation to
Right,
generation by
right.
design. But heirloom are that's like that's those are plants at its most basic. So you can, as long as you have the know-how how to save seeds properly. And apparently there's a whole art to it. I learned while volunteering at a farm, which I didn't realize. But it's like what Sums is saying. It's our first human work was to tend a garden. It's therapeutic. Like that's our origins. And I don't want to be a farmer, but I enjoy that time spent outside. I enjoy the time working on the
Good,
the
honest
farm
work.
upstate when I go. What?
It's good, honest work that has, that provides something your body needs. It's,
Yeah. Oh, for
yeah,
sure. And it just feels good physically. That functional movement feels good. It's tiring, but something about the way you're working those muscles. Like I love the feeling of it.
that's better than going to the gym for 3 hours and pumping iron.
Oh, sure. Yeah, for sure. And I'm telling you that farm that I volunteer on, is an older woman who this is her retirement career. She used to work in medicine, and like she's in good shape and she's strong, and she's in her early 70s and she could do all this, yeah, because that's her exercise. That's her gym. She don't go to the gym.
Wow.
She's just working out all day on the farm.
Where is it?
Um,
Upstate?
yeah, it's upstate. It's in Dutchess.
Alright.
Yeah, one of the more isolated areas in Dutchess, so it's pretty awesome place.
Cool.
And back to the water. Yeah, so there you go. Whole house filtration. And I know that it's not possible for everyone, but like, man, even if you can just get your own personal distiller and start that way, or even if all you can get is one of those zero water things, like I feel like start somewhere. And this is the goal here. Whole house filtration. Yeah, chlorine wrecks female anatomy. Everything out there is wrecking male and female anatomy. It's just
Yeah.
endocrine disruptors
I bought
purposely.
a I I bought a whole house filtration system for a friend of mine a few years
Uh,
back. It was pre-COVID and all that, but I think it was like $400.
oh, so it's
Um,
not as bad as I thought.
yeah, I was really wasn't as bad.
Oh, wow. I thought it was, like, really, like, insanely expensive.
This is depending on what kind of system you get. This was
Yeah,
actual filters. It
yeah,
was like a 4 or 5 stage filter thing.
that's cool.
I don't know if they ever used it.
Oh, but oh gosh, somebody
Yeah.
gives you a whole house filter, and you'd have to be a fool not to use that. But
Well, they were moving and situation was difficult. I don't know. I'll have to
oh,
find
okay, so
it.
they weren't just being a jerk because they didn't believe in it.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Yeah. So, well, I kept you here an hour and a half, so I don't mean to keep you any longer. But I
All
appreciate the conversation. Was there anything else that you wanted to cover that maybe did I get us off?
right. No, it's all good. Bobby says, did y'all already touch on Richard Hart tweet about the devs beating the bug and getting the to stage 9 in Pulse Aragon?
Oh, I didn't hear that.
I have stepped back from Hex News, but that sounds like it's very close to maybe a public testnet.
Sounds it.
I don't
I
know.
don't know much about this, like the whole development and how it works, but so I didn't even know there was a bug. But yeah, but it does seem like every update we're getting does sound more and more positive. Yeah, because I
One of
mean,
the guys at the clinic I've been trying to talk to about Hex, and he's big into Solana. So the other
hmm,
day he's like, "Hey, create a phantom wallet. I want to send you a soul." I was like, "What? What? Soul is what they call Solanas, I guess. I'm not in that loop, but I created a phantom wallet, and he sent me one Solana. So I sent him some Hex and made him
mhm.
stake it 5555.
Oh, nice. Getting people indoctrinated into the
Yep,
hex cult.
yep.
Yeah, I tried Solana early on.
Wow.
It's
Hex is pumping on
ooh,
this stream.
man, we've been doing pretty nicely with this lately.
It's the high strangeness stream. I checked the price earlier today. It was 5.9 cents. Now it's 6.8.
It's pretty significant. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. Um, you know what? I'm glad we're here and that we're waiting. And I think we're definitely. I mean, okay, yes, I'm biased, but this is the best place to be. I
It
mean,
is.
because in this market, the fact that Hex is still able to do that, I think it really says a lot. It speaks volumes.
Oh, plus, what other, token camp had a
Mm,
better bear market than Hexicans?
yeah.
We're getting
Oh, yeah.
airdrops like crazy. It was a good bear market, if you
Yeah.
could say that.
Now, are we still in the bear market?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's still okay. It's still a good bear market at the moment,
Yep.
right? Yeah. So, righty. Well, it's been an awesome stream.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
How those
Thank
shirts coming?
those shirts. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So for anyone that doesn't know, I got to working on a shirt design idea. I gave it to an artist. They drew me like a kind of a psychedelic duck falling down a hole, like down the rabbit hole, Alice in Wonderland. So I just got to figure out now how I'm gonna go about that. But it turns out T Rob knows all about like the whole like shirt thing. He has done a lot with that. So he said he was gonna
Silk
help me
screening
figure
and
out
everything?
what.
You mean the silk screening process or just getting
Or
them
just
made?
like I guess distributing t-shirts,
Okay,
selling, doing that. So I'm like, okay, maybe he can kind of direct me to, yeah, kind of the
cool.
best way to distribute it. And I got to just finalize the logo because I'm gonna put the little logo on the back.
Alright.
So, but thank you for asking.
Yep.
I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be fun for us all to have matching little culty shirts.
Vets in crypto jumping in at the end. What's up,
Hey,
man?
bang bang. Nice to see you, Vets in Crypto. Yeah, and thank you to all you guys who hung out with us and who tolerated my all over the placeness with this because it's something that I think about often. And again, not in a fearful way, because I think sometimes people tend to look at this and say, like, oh, some people who think like this, you're being fearful, you're afraid of everything, you're not living your life. But I'm like, no, it's being this discernment. Like,
Being being real
yeah.
to things going on in the world.
Yeah, and it's like, and There's nothing wrong with just stepping back and kind of looking at what you put in your body and what's healthy and what's not. I mean, just like we talked about, you wouldn't put gasoline in your mouth, be brushing your teeth with that, you know. So why am I going to put any other chemical in my body that is intended to destroy it? It has a nefarious purpose in our food. So why are we going to willingly go along with that? I mean,
Well, it's
and you
like,
know,
yeah, I'm a lot of car people are in my life that build hot rods and high end cars and
mm,
stuff, and they always want distilled water for the radiator because it
mm,
leaves no residue. I'm like,
mhm.
well, why don't you drink it also? They're like, what do you mean? It's like, well,
Or
you got some whatever bottled water there. Why don't you put that in the car? Oh no, it leaves stuff behind. Like you just it's amazing the disconnect people have.
yeah, 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 the cognitive what is it? The cognitive dissonance? Is that another name for it, or is that different?
Or the dumbassness. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. Let me guess,
Um,
are they drinking tap water too?
some of them, one of my buddies, when I moved back to Arizona, one of the mechanics, he comes over to my house and it was a hot day and he just goes right to the sink to get some water. And I'm looking like, whoa, what are you doing? He goes, what? You need the minerals in there. I was like, dude,
Get your minerals from your food.
yes.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh, or worst case scenario, get some of these sea salt type minerals and put them in if you want it in a different way, but, yeah. Oof, and then the plastic water bottles too that sit in the sun, those people that drink out of that stuff, they leave in their hot cars.
Yeah, that's what I do at the at Eminent Wellness when I make the juices. I put them in glass bottles and hand them out. And when I clean the juicer when I'm done,
Mhm.
I actually get a microfiber towel and dry it because I don't even want the tap water drying on it.
Mm, mhm.
Try and keep it, you know, as clean as possible.
Yeah, I went to go rinse out my, glass water bottle today, and I almost rinsed it with tap, and I'm like, "The stuff is still leaving stuff behind," so I rinsed it with the filtered water.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, it's just yeah, better that way," and also for anybody that can. I kind of I had a little plastic detour, but I'm back on the glass, so I am not drinking out of a liquor bottle. This is actually a glass water bottle.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, Bobby said, oh, thank you, Bobby. That's really kind of you. Yeah, 1.3 subs. I appreciate every one of you all. Thank you for still sticking around, not running away. Um, so yeah, and never use lip fill. Interesting. Okay, I just want to hop to that a second because human hex trafficker is like talking about never use lip filler. Was working with somebody last week who wrecked her face entirely. So besides the fact that
Oh,
filler looks horrendous, filler ends up like stuck in your lymphatic system. So people think like, okay, filler, it's not that bad, whatever they're using, maybe it's a harmless ingredient, but like it doesn't leave your body that easily. Um,
I'd
so
rather
like
get a root canal. I don't know.
yeah, I'm like, yeah, what's worse? Something stuck in your lymphatic system or the dead, thing in your mouth? You really start to wonder because I thought filler was okay. I thought filler was safe. Because I have what's a plague of young people in this generation, tech neck. I have some lines going across my neck. And I found out that you can get rid of that with filler. And I was so excited. I'm like, when I can afford the filler, I'm going to get my necklines filled in. And then I heard it gets stuck in your lymphatic system. And I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I'm good. I will live with that. I will, maybe the laser, whatever, will take off those wrinkles. I am not putting that stuff into my body. And especially because they're putting mRNA into a lot of different things now.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna let Brian go.
Right.
I keep holding him hostage.
All
But
good.
thank you again for being here.
That
And
was good.
I don't know if you have to run or if you want to just hang for a few seconds in the green room, and
Yeah,
I'll.
I'll hang out.
All right, and then I'll see you in a few. All
Right.
right.
Ciao,
Thank
people.
you again, Brian. Okay, thank you guys for being here tonight, and it's an interesting conversation. Definitely a lot to think about, and I feel like a lot of you all are on the same page with a lot of this, and just keeping ourselves healthy and basically fighting the poisoning of us in whatever way you can, even if it's baby steps. I know we're on the same page, but if you're not, don't have to take our word for it. If you go and do your research, you know, your eyes will be opened. So yeah, thank you again. Have a wonderful night. And I'll see you guys next week. Alrighty. Bye.